Join us as we sit down with remarkable individuals from various walks of life who faced their fair share of obstacles and emerged with positivity. Each episode, you'll hear inspiring stories, actionable tips, and wisdom that can supercharge your own journey when using adversity as motivation. Let's learn together.
Welcome to Lauer Power, another episode happening now. This is the podcast where we like to use adversity as motivation alongside Chad Lauer. My name is Chad Evans in Stone State Studio headquarters in Northumberland, Pennsylvania, Northumberland County, Pennsylvania.
That's right. Make
sure you subscribe to the podcast. What do the kids say? Smash the like button, I guess.
Smash the like button,
Smash the like button. And make sure you download and let us go with you wherever you go, all right? So, yeah, welcome to Lauer Power. I just want to timestamp this episode just real quick. We're recording on the day that somebody sprayed meat all over the road in Shamokin next to one of our billboards. So, please take as many pictures as you can of the meat on the road in Shamokin. It's next to our billboard.
Yeah. And listen, we're all about spreading positivity. Sometimes you gotta, I got nothing. I don't know. I got nothing.
Anybody know how this happened yet?
Sometimes you just have to take one on the chin for our city. And today somebody decided to bless us with.
I ordered 20 pounds of chicken thighs and they haven't shown up yet. So I don't know. Do you know what might have happened?
I was meeting with Kurt Mosser for lunch at Wayside. I pulled out of the Wayside to come to Northumberland, and there was chicken all the way down Route 61, on my way here.
They had no idea that.
I think they're just going to leave it there until the cars kind of just.
Well, the crows will come and get it.
Crows will come and get it.
Crows will come and get it. Hey, we have a guest in the studio, Kristy. Hi.
We do.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
This is awesome. Kristy, go ahead and introduce Kristy.
Thanks for joining us. Listen, part of the podcast is about using adversity as motivation, and we're all about spreading positivity. So recently I read a newspaper article about you in the news item, which is the Shamokin newspaper.
All right.
And it was about your nonprofit EatShare. So I reached out to Kristy, as I normally do, like some creep. And I'm like, hey, will you come talk to me about EatShare on my podcast? And she was probably like, who is this guy? Whatever. So then she listened to the podcast and she finally agreed to come on. But the reason why I wanted, well, there's multiple reasons, Kristy, why I wanted to have you on. One is I think your mission is just awesome. Two, you really fit the mold of what we're looking to do, meaning you're innovative, you're entrepreneurial, obviously, to start this, but you also found a need through like your everyday life. And instead of just letting it go, you acted on it. So why don't you kind of tell us about how EatShare became what it is today and like how you got started. And then we'll get into a few other questions that I have for you. Sound good?
No, that sounds great. So I am a social worker at UPMC Williamsport Hospital, and I've worked there since 2017, and we are a level 2 trauma center for adults. And my role is with patients who come in as traumas. So most of my patients were otherwise living their life fully functional, fully independent until this one thing happened that completely changed things for them for a period of time. And so in December of 2022, which is hard to think back on now, we were coming out of COVID, and an older gentleman came into the emergency room after he had slipped on the ice. He lived alone, and he broke his right arm, and it was going to be in a sling for a period of time. And I got called because his major concern was what was he going to do for his meals, right? He lived on the second floor. He didn't drive, so he would walk to the grocery store. He would carry all of his groceries home and prepare his own food. And so I went and talked with him. His resources were limited, and as I said, we were coming out of COVID, and so as I was reaching out to other community services, there were things that could help him, but nothing that was going to be real quick, and he was worried about what he was going to eat tomorrow. And at first, I was really frustrated because I thought, man, like something like a meal should be so simple to meet a request in our community, and it wasn't. It was more difficult, and so I turned that frustration into innovation and thought, well, why not me, right? Why do I have to wait for somebody else to figure this out? I can go home and cook right now. And that's exactly what I did. I made a big pot of potato soup and some bread and put together a couple easy groceries for sandwiches and things and reached out to him, and he welcomed me to deliver. I didn't show up unannounced. I made sure that he didn't mind. And in fact, he was incredibly appreciative. And that was really the day that it started.
So when you say you became innovative, like that was great and you acted on that day. But what made you think I should create this whole organization where I believe you now have over 180 volunteer chefs? Is that correct?
We're up over 200 now.
So now you're over
Holy
200
cow.
volunteer chefs who just say, hey, if somebody wants a meal, I'm willing to make it for them. Like, how did you get from, hey, I'm Kristy creating one meal for one person in need to doing what you're doing today with such scalability?
So after I helped out that gentleman, I said something to some of my coworkers. And of course, I work in the healthcare setting, nurses, social workers, people that spend their whole days being helpful. And so when I had talked about what I had done and how appreciative that patient was, other coworkers were quick to say, oh, I could definitely do that. I'd be happy to help with that. And so I created just a spreadsheet of people who were interested in helping and where they lived, because it really is important for me to have it being neighbors, helping neighbors. And it has just grown from there. I have to admit, I am really fortunate. So my sister, shout out Catherine Simpson, who works for WebFX, she created a website for me. And with that website, I was really able to grow and reach other members of our community. And we quickly went from just being in like Cumming County, which is where I work, to also Northumberland, Union, and Snyder counties, just because of interest that was growing and wanting to volunteer with us.
Wow, that's awesome. And I'll tell you, like, through some of my charitable work, I've done things where we've just gone and fed folks or sat and had a meal with people just like this. And it is honestly, like, in my opinion, one of the most rewarding things ever, because you just realize like basic needs need to be met. Right. And that's all you're trying to do. Like
Exactly.
you're literally just meeting a basic need. We're not like doing something crazy here,
That's right.
And it feels good to help other people.
It does. And I think that's why it has really grown at the speed that it has. So we just became a 501c3 nonprofit last February, so February 2023. And like I said, we have over 200 volunteers across 4 counties, and we have interest in other counties. We're just not at the stages yet where we would say that we're fully available. I never want to tell someone no who's asking for our support. But I think that it's that specific connection, right? It's really easy and simple to prepare a meal for someone. You're already doing it most of the time. I think all of our volunteers love to cook and they want to be helpful. And this is such an easy way. We also have no commitment. And so though we have over 200 volunteers, actively any given month, there's probably 10 to 20 volunteers that are making meals and delivering. And every month it's a different group of people. And so it also speaks to the fact that people are busy. People are already spread thin in other ways, but this is something that you can sign up for. You simply get an email from me if someone in your community is interested in a meal delivery. And if you're available and you're interested, you respond. If it's a bad time and you're busy, you simply delete it. And so I think that it being, a low commitment to helping the community is also really interesting and intriguing for people to want to get involved in that way.
So explain, let's tell the audience exactly how it works. So first of all, tell us generally who needs the meal. Like you've given a specific example, but I'm sure there's other folks, right?
Yeah.
What do they do? Number one, where do they go?
So in order to request a meal, like I said, we have our website, EatShare.org, and you can request a meal for yourself or for someone else, because sometimes people don't have access to the internet or, different things come up that other people can give the information. And we make it really simple. We don't even need to know why somebody needs a meal. What's really important to us is not that there's specific criteria, but that we just know you need a meal and someone has enough to share, and so they're happy to. So when people go to our website to request a meal, all they have to provide is family size, so we bring enough, their address, so we take it to the right place, and any dietary restrictions or allergies, because we want to make sure we bring them food that's good for them and that they're going to enjoy. And so what we've seen from that model is people are requesting meals for a variety of needs. Like I said, we don't ask the why, but I think a lot of people feel compelled to tell us because it's hard to ask for help, even from strangers, and so people want to share why it is that they're asking for a meal. And a lot of times, just this week, we're assisting a family who's staying in a hotel who unfortunately lost their home in the flooding that we had last week. Wow. And we are also assisting a family who their daughter was in a car accident, and they're not actually from our community, but that she was life flighted here for the level 2 trauma center. And so we're assisting them with meals while they're away from their supports. But we're also assisting families who are connected to other community resources like our food pantries, different community services. We take referrals from the Union Snyder County Commission, as well as the Hunger Coalition and Dig Furniture Bank. So different places who are already engaging with people in the community who are seeking resources also refer them to us so that we can provide them meals.
That's awesome. And I love a few things here. Like you say, you want to change the current stigma, definitions, requirements to seek out and access community support and resources when needed.
Yes.
If that doesn't hit home for all of the things we've talked about on this podcast, I don't know what does, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't need to know. Like, everybody's going to hit a hardship on their life. Mm-hmm. We're just here to help, right? We're here to help you get through it, which is such a cool concept to me.
Yes.
So kudos to you for doing that. Now, like, what do you need to make this get to the next level? Is there funding needed? Is there, like, how are you kind of generating revenue to make sure you're able to continue this effort? Like, tell us a little bit about how the community can support you to get you to the next stage and roll this opportunity out to more chefs and more people in need.
So, like most things, it's a few different layers of need. I really want to see EatShare grow into Southern Northumberland County. We also would like to grow in Union and Snyder counties more. We have volunteer chefs, but we're always welcoming and looking for more so that, again, we never ever have to tell a family no. When a volunteer chef isn't available to offer their assistance, largely either myself or a member of our board of directors makes those meals. So when people make monetary donations, that's one of the ways that we use it, is to provide meals to families when volunteers aren't available to help. We also utilize funding. We recently did our 3rd free community meal in Muncie. It was at the Today Farm in Muncie, which is the former Steyer's farm. And we served 315 meals to the community, and we used funding not only for, of course, the hot dogs, the hamburgers, the ingredients for the meal, but we also made it into a pretty great event. And so we had face painting, we had goat visits, we had arts and crafts, and we had a tie-dyeing station that we feel was a really big hit. And families were welcome to come and didn't have to worry about any cost to them. And it was a really great day. And so we would like to be able to offer more events like that throughout our service region, not just in Muncie, but all across like Cumming, Northumberland, Union, and Snyder counties. We also are, one of our long-term goals is to have our own, we call it community, as in Unity Kitchen, where one day we will have our own space for food storage, for food prep, to welcome volunteers to come if they want to do more hands-on things together, as well as offer free classes to the community. Things like if you're newly diagnosed with diabetes and you're not sure what those meals should look like, we can have people come and educate the community and do fun cooking classes together. So that's really our big goal, but it is going to take a lot of funding to get there.
Yeah. And listen, we're here to promote that and promote what you're doing and, seek funding for your mission because we believe in it. In fact, I want to kind of pull Chad in because he had an idea to do a hot dog day in the town of Shamokin, which we did a couple weeks ago, and it was just fabulous. And we fed about 100 people hot dogs. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we did 100 hot dogs in 2 hours and 4 minutes.
Yep.
And it was great. It was just a community building exercise where we, set up the old Blackstone in the middle of Shamokin and fired up some hot dogs. But also it led to a lot of conversations, a lot of positivity, I think, just for a little bit. that day. And, we had the police force out. We had some political people, some people with the Shamokin City Council stopped and see us. So it was really nice.
Yeah.
And I joke around because people are like, well, you guys are going to save Shamokin. I said, one hot dog at a time, baby.
Yeah.
And the whole moral of it was just to stir up positivity and be like, hey, grab a hot dog, hang out. And we wanted people to pay it forward, right? So here's a hot dog, do something nice for somebody else.
So it's funny. I always nerd out, and I'm going to nerd out for a second because I think it might have been, I forget, it was a Malcolm Gladwell book, but I was reading it. I forget what the title was, but I was reading about the Rosatons, and the Rosatons moved from Italy to this little town in PA up, I think near like Wind Gap, Roseto, PA it's called.
Roseto.
Yeah, Roseto. Yeah. And they studied this population and there was 0 heart disease. I mean, this is like recently, there was 0 heart disease in this population. And they were trying to figure out like, why is there 0? There's probably some genetic components, but ultimately what they figured out was their stress level was so low because in Italy where they lived, there was such a sense of community that like if you lost your job or you fell down, like they hang out on the porch, like you were going to cook for me, right? Or I was going to cook for you. So you never felt like you were in this alone. You never felt like, hey, if I get sick, my wife and kids won't eat, or hey, if I get sick, my husband and kids won't eat. You just knew that that's what they did. Right. They cooked for each other. They took care of each other. And that's a big part of community, I think, and our overall health. And then also it feels stinking good to help somebody else, which makes you healthier, right? It makes your mental health a little bit better. You feel better about yourself. So, I mean, I could go on, but it's funny that you mentioned that event because Chad literally just planned and we executed an event around food and around food insecurity in our town. And I think we can't promote that enough. I really don't.
You really can't. And there's just something, I mean, there's something magical, right? So when you have people over, when you welcome them into your home, there's almost always a food component to that, right? You want to share, you want to break bread with them. And then that in turn makes everyone more comfortable. And I feel like connections happen more easily. It's more meaningful. And so we're just doing that on kind of a bigger scale. And that is one of the components of what we're doing is trying to rekindle that feeling of community across our counties, right? Because we're not doing this alone. We all can support each other with the things that we have, and being able to provide a meal is such an easy way to do that. And one of the, I use the word magical because it really is something to see. When we deliver a meal to families, a lot of the time they are signing up to be a volunteer so they can pay that forward.
That's so cool.
You know, people want to help each other. I think a lot of times we just don't know how to do it or how to do it easily that fits into our lives. And so that's one of the benefits of EatShare is we kind of do the legwork so that we can connect neighbors to each other. We've even had some local volunteers who have signed up to deliver a meal, have taken it to a family, and they've responded back to me saying, oh my goodness, they just live right around the corner from me. And I never met them before. And I introduced myself and I shared my number and I wanted them to know that they could reach out to me again. And so that connection that's coming from the simple act of bringing food to someone is just truly, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. I have a bunch more questions, Chad, but I want to turn over to you. Do you have any other questions before I move on?
I got a couple questions.
All right, go ahead.
So I want to know a little bit about Kristy, a little bit of backstory, like where you're from. Where did you go to college? I want to know stuff. Let's go, Kristy. What do you got?
Oh, wow. Okay. So, well, I grew up, I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Wow. Okay.
But we moved back to Pennsylvania when I was fairly young. My mom is from the Muncie, Pennsylvania area. Mm-hmm. And so we moved back so we could reconnect with that side of the family. And I went to East Lake Cummings School District, grew up outside of Hughesville on a small farm that had llamas. And from there, I went to college at Penn State. I majored in philosophy because I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life just intellectualizing and, pontificating and worrying about the big questions. But then I graduated from Penn State and realized that didn't pay real well, and I needed to figure something else out. And I ended up taking a job at an adolescent girls group home in Muncie. Wow. And working with that population just really I think was for me the practical side of what I had studied, philosophy. And I went back to school then for my master's in social work, went to Marywood University when they had their Bloomsburg program. And I've worked in child welfare, and most recently, like I said, I've now been working at the hospital with our trauma team for several years.
And did you find yourself always being interested in philanthropy? Like, or are you just a good person? Like, you know, like, you're just, I mean, it's like, I was at a small age and I wanted to help people out, but, you know, was that always your mission, or did you just kind of find yourself, like that story you told about the gentleman that broke his arm? Did you just kind of find yourself in this position?
So I think if I give myself some credit, I think I ended up going to school for social work because it did strike something within me that I wanted to be helpful. And my mom she worked in insurance, but I consider her the first social worker I ever met. Because she really emulated for me what it meant to have compassion and care about people in your community and help them in the ways that you can. And she wasn't someone that ever looked for recognition for that. But, you know, growing up and seeing her interact in the world in that way, I think really made me want to do the same.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good, Chad. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So no, that was great. And I love that you got to share with the audience the history and your background.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to some leadership topics, which I told you before is consistent on this podcast. But I want to just before that go through your core values on your website, because I think they're really cool. Your values for EatShare are dignity. We respect the inherent value and worth of every individual. Who would ever say no to that? Like, I mean, it's sad that we even have to put that as there, but I understand why we do it. Benevolence. We act in good faith and lead with kindness. Pretty awesome. Collaboration. We recognize that success comes from working together. I mean, if you're going to have 3 simple values, you're not going to have 3 better values than that, right? So I think before we get into any leadership topics, I mean, I think that's something we can all take home, you know, when we think about who we are as people, who our businesses or our nonprofits are. Those are 3 awesome key takeaways. So next, you know me, I'm a big thinker.
Yeah.
How do we scale this beyond Chad's laughing
because he just says, just do it.
Right.
Just do it. We were talking about this production idea that revolves around golf. And this is something I want to do. I told him, give me $250,000 and we'll do it. He goes, well, just do it. just start today and do it. I said, well, it takes some. He goes, no, just do it.
That's how I think, right?
Right.
Yeah. So he's thinking big.
I'm difficult to deal with at times, and I'm aware of it, right? But I think, man, we're feeding people in 4 counties. Why can't we feed people in 4 states?
Sure.
Right? Like there are people in every community that are hungry, and there's people in every community that want to feel good about helping them. And man, this is a scalable idea, right? So what's preventing us from scaling this nationwide?
So right now, I would say it's the manpower.
Okay.
We have a board of directors that is really phenomenal. It's 4 other women who are very much involved in the work that we do every day and are always quick to help. But it's going to take a lot more, I think, than us to be able to grow. What I would love to establish are community leads. So that way it's not just me coordinating across 4 states, right? We're going to need other people in other regions who know their communities well. I don't know these other communities, and so far as connecting them to their resources. And I said it's neighbors helping neighbors as far as we're concerned. So we really want to get more people involved with more of the administrative tasks so that we can coordinate more meal delivery.
Okay. So the vision is community leads, then they kind of manage everybody that signs up as a chef underneath them. Is that what your vision is?
That's correct.
And then as the inquiries come in, they fulfill, and that person is making sure they're fulfilled in a timely, efficient manner, safe manner, all of those things.
Yes.
So that is a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And then the second part of that is how do we educate chefs that this exists, and how do we educate people in need that it exists, right? And that's kind of the vision to scale. So we could do that easily in like 3 to 6 months.
All right, let's get to work.
I'm just kidding. No, but like I'm so excited for you. Like I joke because I'm excited for you, and I think that you're really on to something. Like,
well, let me ask you, because you said you have over 200 volunteer chefs. How are they finding out about you?
Yeah, that's a great question.
So the last year, I've really made it a mission to just get into the community, right, and talk about EatShare and what we're doing. And so whenever there's been a free community event from anywhere, from Williamsport to we were in Selinsgrove just last weekend, just doing pop-up tables, giving people our flyers, letting them know what we're doing. The feedback is great reception. People want to be involved with this type of volunteer work. So it's just been a matter of getting the word out there. Yeah. And then utilizing social media as well. Though, I'm not a content creator and I acknowledge that, but just trying to put things out there as we can and letting people know that we're here, encouraging them to share and let others know, the work that we're doing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And it's awesome work that you're doing. So, I really don't have much else. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners about EatShare?
Well, how can they find out?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
So to learn more about us, our website again is eatshare.org. And on the website is our mission, which you've spoken, or our mission, which you've spoken about, as well as to request a meal, to sign up as a volunteer, to make a donation. All of my contact information is on there if anyone wanted to reach out and just ask any questions. I'm always open to speaking with people. The only other component that I would add to the work that we do is we also want to decrease food waste. So a lot of the problem with food insecurity is access as opposed to food availability. And a lot of food in our country gets wasted. And so what we would like to do is intercept it before it becomes waste and utilize any leftover food in order to help feed our community. And so an example of that is we had a local caterer reach out to us and they had a lot of chicken that was left over after a golfing event, actually. And they said, would you have any interest in this? It's just from a few hours ago. I don't want to throw it away. I said, absolutely. I reached out to some volunteers. We quickly got together, added some sides, and we were able to serve over 40 meals to the community based on what would have ended up in the trash. Yeah. And so wanting to do more of that, and we call that our Food Forward program. And that's also just a matter of reaching out to us either through our website or eatsharelove@yahoo.com, and you just let us know that you have excess. We arrange pickup. We try to make everything easy for everyone involved. So if you tell us where you are, we come and get it, we turn it around, and then we deliver it to families. And so that's another component to the work that we're doing, and we just want to get the word out there that we're here to help with that.
Yeah, it's funny. We have two examples of that, of just being on our podcast already. So Knoebels teamed up with Oasis Community in Shamokin for catering, right? Yep. So they were able to distribute that. And the other restaurant that is really good at that is Panera Bread.
Yeah.
So they do that nationwide because they have their bread that they make every day, and they will try to find a place to distribute that. And I think the more folks we get on board with that, the better. And I know we're using specific examples that you've shared, but the one that crushes me, and it shouldn't change, nobody should be hungry, but especially kids, right? Because they're not making that decision. They don't have the opportunity. So like, we need to get better to make sure no kid is going hungry, and you're really onto that mission there. So listen, you were an awesome guest. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I think we could all learn from you. Don't just think about a problem and be like, oh, it just always exists. Act on it, just like Kristy has. She found a problem. It bothered her. And she said, you know what, I'm going to fix it.
And as a true entrepreneur, she kind of made the mold. Instead of waiting for something to happen, she took the initiative and made it happen.
Yeah, I think we could all learn so much from that. So listen, Kristy, keep up the good work. We're here to support you in any way we can. And I think we start just by educating folks that you exist, which we're doing today. And Chad, I can't wait to get started on the next one.
Are you a business owner, a leader, or an aspiring achiever looking to turn life's challenges into powerful fuel for your success? You've come to the right place. Get ready to unlock the secrets to turning life's hardships into your most powerful ally. Your hosts, along with our incredible guests, will help you tap into your own Lauer Power.